3 days into the silent treatment, Derrick, my fiancé and CEO, greenlit his assistant's pitch for a self-driving road trip. He expected me to flip, like always. I didn't. A month later, he came back and saw it. I wasn't the same. He backed Molly, stole my project, and thought I'd explode. I didn't. I just helped her draft the proposal. He trashed everything I built, just so she could snag her year-end bonus. I didn't fight back, took the blame, took the hit. Molly was all smug. See? Told you, you can't go at Yara head-on, give her the silent treatment. She folds, she's scared of losing you, that's why she's playing nice. Derrick ate it up, called her smart. Then he pulled me aside, offered a raise, a promotion, even a fancy wedding, first time he'd ever brought it up. But he missed one detail. He'd already signed off on my resignation while he was off playing road trip king. And I'd already dumped him. That was it, clean cut, nothing left. Yara, Mr. Cromwell needs this proposal ASAP, sorry to bug you, but finish it before you head out. Molly Leach, Derrick's assistant, dropped a fat stack of papers on my desk, all chipper like we were besties. I took them, got it. She wasn't done, still smiling, she threw in, Mr. Cromwell and I have a client meeting later, just leave the docs on his desk, oh, and tidy up his office before you go. Then she strutted off like she owned the floor, heels clicking, mood sky high. Around me, the office fell quiet, my coworkers shot me that awkward look, half pity, half helpless. Everyone knew Derrick Cromwell, CEO of Vantral Corp, was my fiancé. Everyone also knew he blatantly played favorites, and Molly was his number one. He'd yanked her from another firm, made her director, then handed her $1 million project I'd busted 2 months bringing in and prepping. When I pushed back, he called a team vote, thinking everyone would back him. Wrong, the whole team voted for me, except him. Molly got 1 vote, his. He lost it, accused me of stirring up cliques, didn't just take the project away, he demoted me in front of everyone and slashed the salaries of the people who'd backed me. Nobody dared speak up. Later, he apologized, said didn't want it to look like favoritism, claimed Molly might feel left out. I used to believe that crap, now? It's a joke. Molly couldn't even keep up with our interns. Didn't want it to look like favoritism? Please, he was straight up playing favorites, everyone saw it but him. I heard footsteps upstairs and looked up, Derrick. He showed up at the stairwell, glanced my way, then walked out without saying a word, changed into some casual suit. Even from here, I caught that cedar cologne. He never used to wear cologne, that one? Molly's gift. Yeah, he knew exactly what he was doing. He'd been pulling this kind of stuff for years. It started after I found their goodnight texts, couldn't stay quiet, I confronted him. Derrick said I was being petty, then, like it proved some point, he used it as an excuse to make it official and moved Molly to work directly under him. The more upset I got, the harder he leaned in, dragging her to every social event, serving her food, even wiping her mouth at company dinners. When we fought, he'd ice me out. When I apologized, he'd round up his buddies to lecture me like I was some jealous mess. For a while, I actually blamed myself, thought maybe I wasn't generous enough, thought maybe that's why we ended up here. But on day 3 of one of his silent treatments, when I was too sick to even sit up and he still packed his bags for a trip with Molly, I gave up. That's when it hit me, he wasn't trying to be noble, he just used my pettiness as a shield so he could keep doing what he wanted without feeling guilty. Even if I hadn't caught those late-night chats, he would have just found another excuse to be with her. After their latest business trip, they were still grabbing dinner, drinks, playing tennis, same routine, but something between them had changed, I could feel it. Not that it mattered. 5 years together, and it was done. This whole mess had dragged on long enough. I was the last one in the office, finishing up the proposal, checked my phone. Molly had been busy posting. Candlelit dinner at some fancy spot, 2 plates of steak, Derrick, all polished and perfect, cutting hers for her. Caption, steak cut by the CEO himself, it has to taste better. The comments were full of heart emojis and fangirling, a few clueless people even asked when the wedding was. Derrick replied with 3 dots, Molly followed up with a cheeky emoji. No clarification, just like always. But this time, I didn't blow up, didn't call him, didn't get scolded for overreacting. I just texted him, proposal's done, dropped the docs in his office, refilled the water like he asked, then drove home. The second I walked in, my phone rang, Derrick's number. I picked up, but it wasn't him. Yara, it's Molly, thanks for your help with the project, I'll treat you to dinner sometime. Her voice was all sugar. Before I could answer, Derrick cut in, no need to thank her, it's her job. Molly teased, Mr. Cromwell, she's your fiancé, can't you talk to her a little nicer? They sounded like the real couple. I let out a quiet laugh. Derrick, who used to freak out if I even glanced at his phone, now handed it to Molly like it was no big deal. And honestly, I felt weirdly calm. What used to feel like the end of the world suddenly felt small. They kept joking for a bit, then Derrick finally remembered I was still on the line. I'll be back soon, no need to wait, get some rest. Then he hung up. His soon usually meant 4-5 hours. I used to pace the whole time, worried sick. But this time, I didn't bother. I just walked to the study and looked at the calendar on my desk. Not long ago, Derrick and Molly turned a business trip into a vacation. While they were off playing house, I slipped in my resignation. Derrick was too distracted to notice. He approved it without even reading. 3 more days. Once the handover's done, I'm out. I paused, then called Prof. Harrington, my old research supervisor, now overseas at a top institute. Back when I graduated, I landed a high-tier spot there straight out the gate, but Derrick said he needed help starting his company, and like an idiot, I dropped everything and ran back to Arlencia. Prof. Harrington told me not to, I didn't listen. Looking back now, yeah, I was dumb. Feelings? They shift. Career? That never stabs you in the back. When the call went through, I explained why I was reaching out. I braced for a lecture. Instead, Prof. Harrington sighed. I already was thinking about asking you to come back, but this time are you actually sure? I'm sure, the resignation's done. Resignation? What resignation? The voice didn't come from the phone. I turned. Derrick stood in the doorway. The call had ended. I locked my phone without a word. While I was still trying to figure out what to say, his phone buzzed. Molly again. She'd found a stray kitten and stopped to buy it a sausage. So cute, Derrick said in a voice message. She shot back right away. The kitten's cute, or I'm cute. Then came a selfie, her holding the kitten, pouting with a peace sign. Derrick smiled. The kitten's cute, but you're cuter. Then, like suddenly remembering I existed, his face shut down. He turned to me, all cold. Didn't I tell you to get some rest? Why are you still up? The tone shift was whiplash, nothing like how he talked to her. And he'd already forgotten I said I resigned. I gave a faint smile, just wrapping up a few things. He frowned deeper. It's late, what's even left? You seriously need to manage your time better, Yara. This procrastination thing is getting out of hand. I didn't bother saying it was his constant last-minute crap that caused it. No arguing, no justifying, I stayed quiet. He didn't push, just walked off to the bedroom. A minute later, I heard him laughing, like, actually laughing. Hadn't heard that sound in forever. He only laughed like that with Molly. I tuned it out, sat at my desk, and pulled out some research journals I hadn't finished. The institute had changed a lot in 5 years. Even with Prof. Harrington backing me, I'd have to prove I still had it. Good thing my foundation was solid, I'd catch up fast. You're reading research journals? I hadn't even heard him come back in. He picked one up, flipped through it, then tossed it back with a smirk. Why are you reading this stuff? Do you even get it? I stacked the papers, just browsing. I asked, did you need something? Back then, I used to light up when Derrick dropped by just to chat. Not this time. He froze like he didn't expect me to be so blunt. His face shifted, awkward, like he'd stepped in something. Yeah, actually, Molly just wrapped up a big project, so I'm thinking of promoting her. Should give the team a boost. What do you think? He looked straight at me. Sure, he said he wanted my opinion, but we both knew that wasn't true. I just nodded. I don't mind. Then he added, but rewards should come with penalties too. You haven't finished a project in a while, so I'm thinking of moving you to a lower level position, just for now. Once things calm down, I'll bring you back. Don't worry, it's for the greater good. You're my fiancé, so you'll support me, right? I laughed, silently, in my head. He still had no clue I'd already quit. He could read Molly like a book, knew her mood from a glance, remembered every little thing she liked, but his own fiancé handed him a resignation letter he signed, and he didn't even realize. That's what it looks like when someone just doesn't care. You can tell in 1 or 2 lines. When I stayed quiet, Derrick assumed I was gearing up to argue. Like always, his face darkened. Even if you disagree, it won't change anything. The announcement's already out. Your office belongs to Molly now. Either accept the transfer or leave, he said, but just a heads up, the company's going public, might want to think twice before walking away. He really thought I'd stay. It wasn't new. I'd been shoved down the ladder more than once, all because of Molly's petty comments. I took it back then. Derrick figured I'd cling even harder now. I gave a dry smile. I didn't say I disagreed. Then it's settled, Derrick said, sounding relieved. To him, silence meant agreement. He was halfway out the door when he turned back. Didn't you used to keep our photo on your desk? Where'd it go? That's when it hit me. It wasn't just the desk. I'd plastered our photos everywhere, my phone, the bedroom wall, my wallet, little reminders that no matter how cold he got, he still loved me. He used to laugh at that, said I was obsessed with those silly little things. He never got it, never understood they were the only thing keeping me from walking. Later, I saw them for what they were, proof of how pathetic I'd been. I broke the frame, I said flatly, put it away. He frowned, immediately scanning the floor, try not to be so clumsy, make sure you cleaned it up, don't want anyone getting hurt. His tone softened a little, probably because I wasn't arguing, then he left the study. I watched him go and almost laughed. That warning wasn't about me. It was about not letting Molly get hurt. This was supposed to be our home, I'd been the one keeping it together, until a few months ago, when I found a hair tie in his study, pillows on our bed, out of place, that's when I knew Molly had been here, more than once. I called him out, I had to, like he saw it coming. He slapped down proof they were just talking business, then turned it on me, calling me jealous and dramatic, to punish me for overthinking. He started bringing Molly over like it was nothing. She didn't even try to hide the way she looked at me, like she wanted a fight. Thing is, they never technically crossed a line. After a while, I started questioning myself. Every day felt like a loop of, what if it's just me? Honestly, if I'd put that energy into literally anything else, I'd be way ahead by now. The next morning, Derrick proudly announced Molly's big promotion, right after dropping me to the bottom rung. He hesitated at first, but once I stayed chill and acted like it didn't faze me, he bought it, thought I'd accepted everything. He was riding high, so was I. While he threw Molly a fancy banquet, I was getting my visa approved. While they chilled at an amusement park, I was packing one suitcase, that's all I needed. While they toasted clients at some club, I wrapped up my final handover. 2 days later, my last day at Vantrell, I wrapped things up with Sandy in HR. Without even glancing up, she said, before you go, stop by the CEO's office, Mr. Cromwell wants to see you. I was about to say no, then stopped. I was flying out tonight. If Derrick went out with Molly like usual, this'd be it, no more run-ins, no more anything. After 5 years, maybe a final goodbye was fair. So I headed upstairs. Right as I reached for the door, I caught a glimpse through the glass. Derrick kicked back on the couch, and Molly, in a long dress, was lying with her head in his lap, way too close for just business. He said something, and she cracked up, covering her mouth like it was the funniest thing ever. I froze. Was about to turn back when Molly saw me. She shot up, startled. Yara, what are you doing here? Derrick's jaw clenched. He yanked his wrinkled suit into place and barked, Yara Yanford, who said you could come in? Didn't I tell you not to come upstairs without permission? He had said that once, but back then, the rule was no one but me could disturb him up here. I used to think that meant I was special, now I knew better. Not that it mattered, I was already out the door. I kept my voice steady. Sandy said you were looking for me. He scoffed, stomped to his desk, and hit the intercom. Sandy showed up minutes later. You told Yara I needed to see her? He asked, cold as ice. Sandy clocked the tension. She glanced at Derrick's face, then at Molly's guilty one, and hesitated, way too long, before mumbling, I don't remember. Derrick let out a dry laugh, smug as hell. He turned to me, all frost and venom. Wow, Yara, thought you'd grown up, but you're still the same, always plotting. If you're that paranoid, why not just move in upstairs? Better yet, plant a camera on me, then you can stalk me 24/7 and finally give that nosy little brain of yours a break. Nothing I said would have changed a thing. Mr. Cromwell, don't be upset, I'm sure Yara just got a little emotional because she cares, Molly cooed, running a hand down his back like she owned the place. Then she turned to me, all fake sweet, Yara, don't get the wrong idea, I just had a headache, and Mr. Cromwell was helping me relax so I could keep working. Everything we do is for the company, you really don't need to overthink it. I didn't know the full story, but I could feel it. This whole setup had Molly's fingerprints all over it. Sandy, always the diplomatic one, knew better than to speak up. Molly was Derrick's favorite, and she wasn't about to get caught in the crossfire. Not that it mattered, even if she told the truth, Derrick wouldn't have listened. I kept quiet, but he wasn't finished, still pissed. He snapped, no need to explain anything to her, personal matters stay personal, this is a workplace, we follow the rules, since Yara broke protocol, cancel her bonus this month, and dock half her salary. Sandy blurted, Mr. Cromwell, Yara already. She probably meant to mention my resignation, but Derrick shut her down with a glare, I don't want to hear excuses, do as I said. Sandy didn't push it, she just turned and walked out. I was about to do the same when Derrick suddenly called out. He sounded calmer now, maybe yelling helped him feel better, Yara, I'm not targeting you, these are just the rules, if I don't enforce them, no one will respect them. Molly jumped in, all helpful, exactly, Yara, next time something's unclear, just ask Mr. Cromwell, or me, if he's busy. Derrick nodded like she'd solved world peace. Molly really puts the company first, she knows more than anyone. Then he turned on me, cold, unlike you, always jealous, always dramatic, maybe you should try learning something from Molly. Learn what? How to slide into someone else's relationship. Fake innocence while poking the bear? Steal credit, sabotage others? I let out a quiet laugh, no point calling her out. Derrick took my silence the wrong way, thought I was feeling guilty. He stepped closer, reached up to adjust my collar, nothing was wrong with it, and said, all serious, I know what this drama's really about, I'm disappointed in you. But hey, you've matured, so here's your reward, let's take our wedding photos tomorrow. We'll move the date up, but don't get too excited, marriage is just. Marriage? I cut in, laughing under my breath. I brushed off his hand and handed him the resignation form I'd prepped. Derrick, we're done, I've already quit, starting today, we have nothing to do with each other. Derrick stared at the paper, it wasn't a dramatic moment, the air conditioning hummed, Molly was still holding onto his arm, her fake smile faltering just a fraction. What is this? He asked, his voice flat. Read it, I said, or don't, Sandy has the copy, it's effective immediately. He laughed, a short, sharp bark of a sound, okay, Yara, you want to play the I'm leaving card? Fine, I'll approve it. Again, he scribbled his signature on the bottom line without reading the terms, eyes locked on mine, daring me to flinch. There, you're resigned, now, go home, cool off, and we'll discuss your reinstatement package next week when you're done throwing a tantrum. There won't be a reinstatement, I said. I didn't feel angry, I felt light. Goodbye, Derrick. I turned and walked out. Walk out that door, and you don't come back, he shouted after me, don't expect me to come chasing you. I'm counting on it, I murmured. I didn't go to my desk, I didn't say goodbye to my coworkers, I took the elevator down to the lobby, dropped my badge at the security front desk, the guard, old Mr. Henderson, looked confused but took it, and walked out into the sunlight. My Uber was already waiting. Airport? The driver asked. International terminal, I said. As the car pulled away, I blocked Derrick's number, then Molly's, then the Vantral corporate line. I looked at my phone one last time, a photo of Derrick and me from 3 years ago was still my lock screen, we were at a beach, his arm around me, looking like he actually saw me. I deleted it, changed the background to the default geometric pattern. I closed my eyes and finally, for the first time in months, I breathed. 1 week later. Perspective switch, third person limited, Derrick. Derrick tapped his pen against the mahogany desk, the rhythm was erratic. Where are the Q3 projections? He snapped. Molly jumped, she was sitting at Yara's old desk, now hers, surrounded by piles of chaotic paperwork. I am looking for them, Derrick. Yara filed them weirdly, I can't find the digital folder. She filed them by date and client code, the same way we've done it for 5 years, Derrick muttered, rubbing his temples, just call her. Molly bit her lip, I can't, she hasn't replied to my texts, or your emails. Derrick scoffed, she's committed to the bit, fine, she wants the silent treatment? She gets it, she'll run out of money soon, she spent most of her savings on that apartment deposit she lost when she moved in with me. He believed that, he needed to believe that. Sir? Sandy from HR knocked on the door, she looked nervous. What? We have a problem with payroll, Yara MS, Yenford's severance package triggered an automatic audit, and we realized she was the only one with the encryption keys for the new client database. Derrick froze, what do you mean, severance package? The one you signed, sir, Sandy said, holding up a file, full payout of unused vacation days, stock option liquidation, and immediate release. Since you signed the waiver, she cashed out her equity, the wire transfer went through 4 days ago. Derrick snatched the file, he stared at his own signature, he remembered signing it, he thought he was calling her bluff. She cashed out? Yes, sir, roughly $200,000. Derrick sat back, the leather chair creaking, she wasn't just sulking at her mom's house, she had liquidated her assets. And the encryption keys? She left a sticky note, Molly chimed in, holding up a yellow square, it just says, reset to factory default, good luck. She wiped it? Derrick roared, standing up. No, Sandy corrected, she just didn't leave the password, which means we have to rebuild the database from scratch. Derrick looked at Molly, you said you knew the system, you said you helped her build it. Molly's eyes went wide, filling with those convenient tears, I did. But she locked me out. She was always so secretive, Derrick, she did this on purpose to sabotage us. Fix it, Derrick snarled, I don't care how, fix it. He pulled out his personal phone and dialed Yara. The number you have dialed is not in service. Not busy, not ignored, not in service. She had changed her number. A cold knot formed in his stomach, it wasn't fear, not yet, it was the irritation of losing a set of keys, he just had to find where he put her. 2 months later. I stood in the clean, sterile light of the Chaotic Systems lab in Zurich. The Institute for Advanced Robotics was nothing like Vantral. There were no glass walls to show off who was boss, no plush carpets, just white boards, wires, and the hum of servers. Yara, look at this variance, Julian said, sliding a tablet toward me. Julian was the lead engineer on my new team, messy hair, glasses that were actually for reading, and a brain that moved faster than mine. He didn't care about office politics, he cared about code. The sensor lag is down to 0.02 milliseconds, I noted. That's better than the industry standard. It is, but it's not better than your standard, he grinned. I smiled back. It came easily now. You're right, let's rewrite the kernel. My life had shrunk to a manageable, peaceful radius. My apartment was a 10-minute walk from the lab. I drank coffee at a place where nobody knew my name. I worked 14 hours a day, not because I had to, but because I loved it. I hadn't thought about Derrick, and actually, I checked the date, I hadn't thought about him in 3 days. My phone buzzed, an international number. I usually ignored them, but this one was from the area code of my old apartment. I picked up. Hello? Yara? Thank God, it was Sandy. I hesitated. Sandy? Is everything okay? No, look, I know you said not to call unless the building was burning down, but it's kind of burning down. I leaned against the lab bench. I don't work there anymore, Sandy. I know, but the audit came in, the Federal Safety Commission, they're looking at the autopilot logs for the Cromwell project, the one Molly took over. And the logs are a mess. Yara, data gaps, forged timestamps. She's been trying to patch the code with open source scripts she found online. The cars are drifting. I felt a phantom headache. That's dangerous, Sandy. I know, Derrick is freaking out. He's fired 3 engineers this week. He asked for your number. You didn't give it to him? No, but he's going to find you. He hired a private investigator. I went cold. A PI? He's convinced you went to a competitor in the city. He thinks you're stealing trade secrets. He's going insane, Yara. He can't accept that you just left. Let him look, I said, my voice hardening. I'm 4,000 miles away. And Sandy? If he calls the police or lawyers, tell him I kept the receipts, all of them, the logs of him signing off on Molly's unverified code. You did? I knew who I was dealing with. Take care of yourself, Sandy. Get out of there before the stock crashes. I hung up. Trouble? Julian asked, not looking up from his monitor. Old ghost, I said, nothing that can touch me here. But I was wrong. Derrick Cromwell wasn't the type to let a possession go. The first time Derrick realized I wasn't in the country was 3 months post-breakup. He hadn't hired a PI, Sandy had lied to scare me, or maybe Derrick had bluffed to her. He found out because he saw me on the news. The Institute had unveiled our new navigational gyroscope. It was a breakthrough in stability tech. I was standing in the background of the press conference, nodding as Professor Harrington spoke. Derrick saw it on a Bloomberg terminal in his office. He zoomed in on the pixelated face. It was me, shorter hair, a turtleneck instead of those stiff blazers he made me wear, and wearing glasses. I looked sharp, unbothered. He called Molly in. Did you know? He asked, pointing at the screen. Molly squinted. Is that Yara? What is she doing there? That's the Zurich Institute. She's working there, Derrick said, his voice dangerously quiet. She didn't go to her mom's, she didn't go to a competitor in town, she went to the Ivy League of Robotics. Well, Molly scoffed, flipping her hair, she probably just got an internship, coffee girl, it fits her. Harrington just credited lead researcher Yen Ford for the stabilization algorithm, Derrick read from the ticker. Silence. That algorithm, Derrick said slowly, is what we've been trying to crack for 6 months, the one you said was impossible without better hardware. Molly stammered, she must have stolen our data. That's it. She stole my ideas before she left. Derrick looked at Molly, really looked at her. He saw the frantic eyes, the inability to explain technical details, the way she deflected everything. For the first time, the fog lifted. He realized, with a sinking horror, that Yara hadn't stolen anything, she had simply taken her brain with her. Get out, he said. What? Get out of my office, Molly, I need to make a call. The email arrived at 3 a.m. Zurich time. From Derrick Cromwell, CEO, Vantral. Subject, we need to talk. Yara. I saw the news, congratulations, it seems you've landed on your feet. Vantral is facing some intellectual property concerns regarding the code you're using. I don't want to make this a legal battle, we should discuss this like adults. I'm willing to fly you back for a consultation, I'll cover the flight, first class. Also, I think we rushed things, I've been under a lot of stress, let's get dinner. D. I read it over my morning espresso. Intellectual property concerns, a threat wrapped in an olive branch, classic Derrick, he couldn't just say I miss you or I need you, he had to make it a transaction, he had to hold the power. I typed a reply. To Derrick Cromwell. Subject, we need to talk. Mr. Cromwell. My work at the Institute is built on a proprietary framework developed by Professor Harrington in 2018, 2 years before Vantral existed. Any legal inquiry will be met with a countersuit for harassment. I am not available for consultation. If you need technical assistance, I recommend reviewing the documentation I left on the server. If that has been lost, I suggest hiring a competent lead engineer. Please direct all future communication to my legal counsel. Yara Yin Ford. I hit send. Julian walked by, glancing at my screen. X? Former boss, I corrected, and former mistake. He writes like a guy who thinks he owns the sun, Julian noted. He thinks he owns the gravity that keeps us on the ground, I said. He's finding out he's just an astronaut without a tether. 6 months later. Vantral Corp stock had dipped 15%. The self-driving road trip project, Molly's baby, was a disaster. The promo video had been faked, Molly's idea, and a whistleblower leaked the raw footage of the car hitting a traffic cone. Derrick was in damage control mode. He looked older. The cedar cologne he wore, Molly's favorite, gave him a headache now. He and Molly weren't together anymore, though he hadn't fired her. He couldn't. If he fired her, she threatened to tell the board that he authorized the fake demo. They were trapped in a toxic orbit, circling the drain together. He spent his nights looking at my old Instagram, which was now private. He created burner accounts to request to follow me. I blocked them all. He started drinking, just a glass or two of scotch at the office, then 3. One night, he drove past the house we used to share. It was sold now, strangers lived there. He saw a tricycle in the driveway. It hit him then, the raise, the promotion, the wedding he offered. He thought those were prizes. He thought I was holding out for a better deal. He realized, sitting in his car in the rain, that I hadn't wanted a deal, I had wanted a partner, and when I didn't get one, I didn't negotiate, I just left. She's not coming back, he whispered to the dashboard. But the ego is a resilient thing. By the next morning, the sadness turned to anger. She thinks she's better than me? I made her, I gave her the platform, I'll show her. He decided to attend the Global Tech Summit in Berlin. He knew the institute would be there. He wasn't going to beg, he was going to crush me. Berlin, the summit. I wore a deep emerald suit, not black, not gray, color. The conference hall was buzzing. I was the keynote speaker for the afternoon session on AI ethics and safety architecture. I was checking the mic when I saw him. Derrick walked in like he was leading an army, flanked by 3 nervous executives and Molly. She was still there, clinging to her position like a barnacle. She wore a dress that was too tight, too flashy for a tech summit. She looked out of place among the engineers in hoodies and blazers. Our eyes locked across the room. Derrick stopped. He looked me up and down. I saw the flash of hunger in his eyes, not just sexual, but possessive. Then, the mask slid into place, the smirk. He walked over, the crowd parted for him. He was still a CEO, after all. Yara, he said, his voice booming slightly, ensuring an audience. Didn't know they let assistants give keynotes now. The room went quiet. A few people exchanged awkward glances. I didn't step down from the podium. I stood tall, looking down at him. Hello, Derrick, nice to see Vantral could afford the ticket prices. I heard the last quarter was rough. Molly stepped forward, her face flushed. We're doing just fine. We're about to launch the Cromwell Series 2. Is that the one that recognizes traffic cones? I asked pleasantly, or are you still working on that patch? A ripple of laughter went through the room. Molly turned beet red. Derrick's jaw tightened. Cute, you got some jokes, but let's be real, Yara, you're researching theory, we're building reality. When you're done playing school, let me know, I might have a junior developer role open. Actually, a voice came from behind me. It was Dieter Schultz, the CEO of Autobahn X, the largest automotive manufacturer in Europe. Miss Yin Ford is currently consulting for us, Schultz said, stepping up to the stage to shake my hand. Her safety protocols are the only reason we just greenlit our new fleet. In fact, we're considering acquiring her patent exclusively. Derrick paled. Autobahn X was the giant Vantral wanted to be. She's consulting? Derrick stammered. Lead architect, Schultz corrected, and frankly, Mr. Cromwell, after reviewing the Vantral open source code you might want to take some notes during her speech. Derrick looked at me, he looked at Schultz, he looked at Molly, who was shrinking into herself. Enjoy the presentation, I said, turning my back on him to adjust the microphone. He didn't leave, he stood there for the whole hour, watching me. After the speech, I tried to exit through the side door, but he was waiting. He was alone this time, no Molly. Yara. Derrick, I have a dinner reservation. He grabbed my arm, not hard, but desperate. I pulled away sharply. Don't touch me. He held his hands up. Okay, look, you made your point, you won, you embarrassed me in front of Schultz, are you happy? I didn't do it to embarrass you, Derrick, I did it because it's my job. I don't think about you enough to plan a public humiliation. That hurt him more than the insult. Stop lying, he hissed, you did all this, the move, the new job, the guy. He gestured vaguely at Julian, who was waiting for me down the hall. It's all to get a reaction out of me. Well, congratulations, you got it, I'm reacting. It's not about you, I said, tired. It never was, that was your problem. Come back, he said abruptly. I stared at him. What? Come back to Vantral, I'll fire Molly, tonight, I'll do it right now. You can have her office, you can have my office, I'll make you COO, we can get married, a real wedding, huge, whatever you want. He looked manic, sweaty. I miss you, Yara. The house is a mess. The company is a mess. I am a mess. I need you to fix it. I looked at this man who I had washed clothes for, cooked for, written proposals for, this man who had looked at me with contempt because I wasn't fun like Molly. You don't want a wife, Derrick, I said softly. You want a janitor. You want someone to clean up your mess so you can go back to playing king. I love you, he said. It sounded like a threat. No, I shook my head. You love that I made your life easy, and I don't do that anymore. I can ruin you, he snapped, the vulnerability vanishing instantly. I can sue you for breach of contract. I can drag this out in court for years. I have more money than you. Go ahead, I said. My legal fees are covered by the Institute, and Autobahn X just bought a 10% stake in my research. You want to sue them? He froze. Go home, Derrick. Go back to Molly. You deserve each other. I walked away. He shouted my name, once, twice. I didn't turn around. Julian was waiting by the exit. He saw my face. Everything okay? Yeah, I took his arm, just taking out the trash. The downfall. It took another year for Vantral to collapse. It wasn't a sudden explosion, it was a slow, painful rot. Molly, desperate to prove herself after the Berlin humiliation, pushed a software update without testing it. The update caused a Vantral SUV to reverse at high speed when the sensors detected rain. 3 people were injured. A class action lawsuit followed. During the discovery phase of the trial, the lawyers found the internal emails. They found Derrick's messages to Molly telling her to bypass the safety checks so they could beat my release date. They found the logs proving I had warned them about this exact bug 2 years ago. The board fired Derrick. He didn't get a golden parachute, he got a subpoena. Molly turned on him immediately. She testified that he coerced her, that she was just an assistant he promoted due to a sexual relationship, and that she wasn't qualified to make technical decisions. She threw him to the wolves to save herself from jail time. It didn't work. She got slapped with negligence charges too. I watched the news from my living room in Zurich. Julian was in the kitchen, making pasta. Vantral files for Chapter 11 bankruptcy, the anchor announced. Former CEO Derrick Cromwell faces fraud charges. They showed a clip of Derrick leaving the courthouse. He looked haggard, gray. He pushed a camera away, snarling. I felt nothing, not joy, not pity, just the distant acknowledgement of a fact, like hearing it was going to rain in a city I no longer lived in. Epilogue. 3 years later. I was back in the city for a wedding, not mine, my sister's. I stopped by a coffee shop downtown. As I waited for my latte, I saw a man wiping down the tables. He was wearing a generic green apron, his hair was thinning, he looked tired. It was Derrick. I stopped, I couldn't help it. He looked up, he saw me. I was wearing a tailored coat, a diamond ring on my finger. Julian had proposed in the Alps, and I looked healthy, happy. Derrick froze with the rag in his hand. For a second, I thought he would come over. I thought he would shout, or beg, or try to assert some dominance. But he didn't. He looked at me, and then he looked down at the table. Shame, deep, crushing shame. He turned his back to me and started scrubbing a stain that wasn't there, hiding his face. Order for Yara, the barista called. I took my cup. I could have said something. I could have gone over and said, I told you so. I could have dropped a tip in his jar just to be cruel. But I realized I didn't have anything to say to him. My story with him had ended the day I signed that resignation paper. This man wiping tables, was just a stranger. I walked out of the shop, into the crisp autumn air. Julian was waiting in the car. Who was that? He asked as I buckled in. You looked like you saw a ghost. I looked back at the coffee shop window. No one, I said, smiling, just someone I used to know. I grabbed Julian's hand. Let's go home.